Welcome to our next episode of Mocha Wave Talks. Here at Mocha Wave Publishing, we believe that everyone who reads has their own magic. Today, I am super excited to introduce you to Emily Barlow, who was one of the first people to welcome me into the author community in social media. And plus, I was really excited when I found out about her books, which we will definitely be talking about today. So, Emily, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a software architect by day, and I write by whenever else I get the chance. I can't settle on a hobby. I've got more of them than I can keep up with.
I've seen that.
But that's pretty much me.
Well, there's a lot more to you.
That's the surface. That gets us started.
I've been discovering little by little, and I'm like, and she does that. And she does that.
That's most people's response is like, wait a minute, what do you not do? And I'm like,
post about how you didn't actually get into, what martial arts is it that you do?
I do Tiger Rock, which is a form, it grew out of Taekwondo, but it's kind of a natural progression of it. The idea being that the student should always surpass the master, right? And Taekwondo hadn't grown in a while. And the founders of Tiger Rock said, well, let's grow it. Where does it need to go from here? Let's bring in boxing. Let's come up with our own way of doing wrist escapes and controls and hand movements, things like that, and called Hanmudo. And we're going to add those things in, and then we're going to keep adding to it. We're going to keep evolving it. And it's the same age I am, which is kind of crazy to me. But it was born, I think, the year before I was, but kind of really came into its own the next year.
It knew you were coming.
Yeah, apparently. I didn't know I was coming to it until I was 39, but okay.
That I thought was really encouraging. A lot of times I saw your posts, like people will say, well, I wish I would have done that when I was young, or when I was a kid.
Do it anyway. Like I got into it again when my kids got into it. My sister did the same thing, and it's been absolutely amazing.
So did you find that knowing all of these hobbies, like these skills, have they helped you with your writing?
Very much so. Very much so. So one of the things that it helps with greatly is character development. Because I have increased my own depth, I can increase the depth of the characters I write. Because every character you write is a facet of yourself, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of you in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And if the depth of understanding I have with sewing helps me to create a character who knows something about how clothing is put together. Same thing with yarn crafting. I know enough of the principles of spinning that if I'm writing something that's in a time period where there isn't, modern textile crafting, I know how it works and basically how that setting should treat things like sheep and wool and how it gets spun into yarn and what that gets made out of and where it gets made out of that and all of that. That's really helped. Martial arts has really helped with action scenes.
Oh, I bet.
Because I can look at, my latest book, Involuntarily Immortal, has some fight scenes in it. And I've sparred men who are the size of the main character, the secondary character, I guess. He's one of the main characters who does a lot of that fighting. Meanwhile, the main character is my size. So I've got a pretty good idea of what's somebody who's this size with training going to do in this fight, especially if they're smart. What are they going to do? What's feasible? What's not feasible?
That's really amazing. So when you entered the author community, did you find there were people that supported you and that made you feel welcome? And so you're kind of passing that on to...
I'm paying it forward. Yep. Because questions that I had, various things, and a lot of them are people that I've followed for a good while now. I think I've been on socials a little over a year. And it's people like Steve Grobschmidt and Circle of Origin. Everybody follows Brandon Carter. I've kind of watched as the Imperfect Cathers series has developed. That's been a fascinating thing to watch because I caught that right at the beginning and followed along with it. I haven't read them yet. I want to. But watching how he's developed all of the momentum that he's got is just mind-boggling. But I've run across quite a few people that have been really supportive as far as when you have questions, what have you guys experienced? Marketing. Jethro Wagner has been fantastic helping with that. And like he's really helped me figure out a lot of the ins and outs of when to like what types of ads to run if you run ads. What other things do you need to build? Grow your networking through your newsletter, things like that. It's been massively helpful. So I've run across really good people from every direction.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about your books, because I started reading them and was really excited whenever you post about them. I know that this one, Involuntarily Immortal, I'm actually in the middle of reading this one. I'm very impressed so far.
Well, that one's my husband's favorite.
Oh, really?
It is, yeah, that is his favorite. He says it's an absolute banger because he did a lot of my editing for me, editing, beta reading, all of that. And he also didn't catch the typo. So I mean, I don't feel quite as bad.
It happens. Even editors don't catch everything. Like real professional editors don't catch everything.
Like our brains kind of switch things out on us. But that one's his favorite. It's a little more actiony than a lot of my other two. That one, it's modern. It's technically contemporary fantasy. Involuntarily Immortal is contemporary fantasy. It's not urban. It's urban-ish. I kind of lump it in with urban fantasy, but if you want to be super specific, it's contemporary fantasy.
Yeah, it feels because the way she's dressed and everything, the way she talks.
It's all modern day. But the main character is much, much older. So that was a fun one to write. She's one of my favorites.
I like that you have an older protagonist.
Yeah, she's much older. But she doesn't look it. That's the thing. She looks it in the very beginning. I don't want to spoil too much, but
I just started.
Yeah, get through that first chapter, and
I'm on chapter 2 now.
Start to make sense. Yeah, so you've seen her initial kind of. Yep. Yeah. So she looks young, is not, acts old, which was half the fun of writing her, was that she looks like she's in her 20s, but she's really a whole lot older than that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I've been told that people can't guess where it's going to go. And that's the most recent feedback that I had. There was a book club that read it last month, and they said, I had no clue. So most of the time I can look at characters, I can look at setting and figure out, okay, this is basically where this is going to go. They had no idea.
So it's not just formulaic, which is I like that. I like that.
I looked at it and I said, I don't want to write the same stuff that I'm tired of reading. So like it does a little bit of a bait and switch on the setting because it starts off in the Pacific Northwest and it's like, oh, we've got so many things that like Twilight was in the Pacific Northwest and all these other stories. And then I'm like, nope, Asia, let's go. Let's do something different. I'm bored with all of this. Let's go somewhere new. And that's kind of where the whole thing went. And it was a lot more fun to write. I did extensive amounts of research on places that I have not been, but would now very much like to go.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get it like as close as I could get to feel of the area and things like that. But
so this one, Sunchaser. Yeah, I'm just started looking at this one because I'm deeply involved with this one. But I think, let me see, where am I? See what page I'm on. I am on page 13, lucky 13. So
that one started out, the idea that I had initially was the idea that I'm writing for the next book, which is going to be called Stormkindler. And that is one of my 2 current works in progress. And I looked at it, and I said, I've got a character here that really has more story. And I needed something. I started working on it and spitballing it. And then my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and was about to start undergoing chemo and all this other stuff. And it was all very seafaring kind of feel. It's seafaring era technology. You got sailing ships and all of that. And he was in the Navy and knew a whole ton about all of it because he'd studied it beyond that as well. And so he became my research partner. So I would hit him up like, hey, Dad, I need to know what this would be like aboard a ship in the sailing era, think British Navy. I need to know what this kind of boat would do. What kind of boat would they use for this? What kind of guns would they have? Would they have guns? What guns did they have? So like it helped keep us talking and keep his mind off of the chemo.
Oh, that's good. That's wonderful.
He was my research buddy for it. And he even designed a boat that I use in the 3rd section of the book. And I've got a drawing of it that he kind of like sketched out a drawing. I was like, man, I wish I could take this on sea trials. But that was really cool. I wanted to use it in the book somewhere. So I got it into the 3rd section and I published it initially. It was the first thing I ever published. And I said, I want to get this into my dad's hands so he can see my name on a book. And he cried. I gave it to him for Christmas that year, and he cried. And we all bawled for a little while. But he had already read it. Like he'd read the pieces. I had fed him the pieces because it's in 3 parts. It's a novella in 3 parts.
But having that in his hands.
Yeah. So, and then he also got to read my second one. My second one came out before he passed. And he passed away, gosh, a year and change ago, last April.
Oh my.
So I was still working on, I think I had just published my third one, but he wasn't doing very well at that point. So he got to read the first 2. And the second one was actually The Raven's Children, was one that was close to some stories that he and his brother and sister used to tell, and some little brothers and sister used to tell, and some little kind of like make-believe stuff that they used to play. So that one was also one of his favorites, but I don't that one's a little bit different from the rest of, like, all of my books are different. They're not necessarily related. I'm working on doing kind of a series off of the Sunchaser verse because I've got a whole lot more mental, like, world building fodder. I want to get Stormkiller out there because it takes Gloria, the main character from Sunchaser, it takes her like 10 years into the future. Like, where has she been? She's been doing a lot of stuff, obviously, because she doesn't know how not to. Gee, I wonder where she got that. Not that I write characters like myself on occasion, but yeah.
You draw from what you know.
A lot of pies. So yeah. And it's turning out to be a lot of fun. It's her niece, and we get to see the weatherworking school that she learned at. And we see her perspective on it from now she's an adult, she's been in the real world, she's made her own way, and now she's looking back at it going, man, it seems so much smaller. Meanwhile, she's got this niece that she's bringing to school who knows nothing but farmer's bent. And you get both, it's multi-perspective so far, and you get both perspectives on kind of what's going on, and then what is going on at the school. I didn't want to go Harry Potterish with it at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is going to be a little bit different. I actually went to the trouble of researching how you would do water and waste management in a valley that has one way in and out without sewers as technology. And like, I talked to a buddy of mine who is a civil engineer. Thank you, Dan, if you ever watch this, about how you could manage that.
Wow.
And he nerded out with me for a little while on it, and was actually very helpful. And we kind of worked something out, and I'm like, okay, this would work. I think this would be functional. And I think also Peter Woods, the Steading Saga author, we kind of spitballed a little on Facebook on that, because he does a lot of survivalism kind of stuff, and it's very heavy in his books. If you've ever read any of them, I started the Steading, and I want to actually try the Fallen because it looks pretty good.
I haven't read it yet, but
I went big rabbit hole on that. Like, I just designed a pipe and sewage system for sailing era technology with, I don't know. It's every now and then
crazy the things that you need to research, and then it gets one thing
for one scene and some description. So
how can we follow you? How can we buy your book?
I have them in soft cover. One of them's in hardback, but that's only The Raven's Children, and it's only because a friend of mine looked at it and said that looks really good in hardback. I've thought about it for the others, but I haven't done it yet. And I don't have audiobook. I do have ebook. I'm looking at audiobook, but I just haven't gotten there yet. I know a lot of people have said, hey, I would love to read your books, but I don't read physical books. Like, I know I've got a lot of friends who are ADHD. It's a whole lot easier to listen to an audiobook. My husband listens to audiobooks instead of reading physical ones. So I want to get there, but I'm not there yet. So I've got softcover, ebook, ebooks, Kindle Unlimited as well. They're available through Amazon. They're expanded distribution, so you should be able to get them through Barnes & Noble at the very least. I know carries them, but you have to order them. Not everyone's going to be my reader. So I know there are going to be people who pick it up and kind of go, it's not the greatest. I'm like, it's cool. You don't like what I write, that's fine. But I don't write it for them. I write it so that people can read it and have the same experiences and escapism that I did writing it and editing it and going through all of that. That to me is worth it. The number of people who have bought and read my books or who have just read my books, have gotten it on a free day, read it through Kindle Unlimited and had that moment, seen that character do that one thing, or said, I really like this character over here, or this took me out of whatever weird, bad situation, etc., that I was in that day. That's who I write for.
I love that. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All righty.
It's been a lot of fun.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.